Hello everyone, today we will take you into the world of maritime accident and the environmental challenge they bring. Imagine a large container ship sailing across busy shipping routes. A sudden storm strikes and dozens of containers fall into the ocean. It is not only oil that spills into the sea, but also plastic, chemical, electronic, and even everyday consumer goods. This is a reality of modern container shipping accidents. The article we are examining, Emerging Marine Pollution from Container Ship Accidents, Risk Characteristic, Response Strategy, and Regulation Advancement, highlight how these incidents create complex forms of pollution that go far beyond oil spill. The research revealed more than 120 studies and real-world cases, including the 2021 Express Pier fire in Sri Lanka. It shows how different pollutants behave in the ocean, how our current emergency response often fail to capture non-oil pollutants, and how international regulation leave dangerous blind spots. In this presentation, you will see how this issue unfolds through the perspective of different stakeholders. Together, we will explore the article's main findings, examine arguments we agree with, challenge those we find incomplete, and finally, present recommendations for building stronger protection for our oceans.
Last night was the worst storm I have ever faced in my career at sea. The wave was so huge, our entire ship felt like a toy being shaken by a child. Containers broke lost and crates overboard. Some carry plastic, some were full of dangerous chemical, and even barrels of oil went into the water. And this morning, when I stepped outside, I could see that the ocean covered with floating debris. There was a strong smell of oil and chemicals in the air. I could see dead fish near the surface already. I keep thinking, what if all this pollution spread to the coastline? What will happen to the fishermen? And what about the local people who depend on the seafood? I have seen accidents before, but I never thought one ship could release so many different kinds of chemical and pollution at the same time. I can't sleep. Then I thinking about the damage we may have caused.
Captain, I hear your concerns. You are right, because this is not just a oil spills. A study we have been analysis and explain exactly the kinds of disaster you have just described, and we need to talk about it carefully. Okay, so let me show you guys the articles we discussed about. The title is Emergence Marine Pollutions from Container Ships Accidents, Risk Characteristics, Response Strategies, and Regulations Advancements. In the past, when people talk of ship accidents, they only imagine oil spills. But these studies say that it is outdated. Why? Because ships today carry all kinds of cargoes, plastic, electronics, chemicals, heavy metals, even clothing and food. When containers are lost at sea, it is not just oil that spills. It is a whole mix of pollutants. The authors call these cargo-based pollutions. First, they review over 120 articles, policy documents, and accidents report from 2010 to 2021. They look at real accidents like the Express Pier fire in Sri Lanka in 2021, which released chemicals and plastic pellets. They even use standardized image, oceans current models, and environmental monitoring data to see how pollutants travel across the sea. The main findings were clear. The first one is pollutant diversities, such as oil, microplastic, heavy metals, and chemicals all behave differently in the waters. Some float, some sink, some break into smaller toxic pieces. The second one is response mismatch. The current emergency response plans are made for oil only. They do not work when plastic or chemicals are involved. The second one is regulatory blind spot. International law like MARPONs and IMDG codes do not properly cover containers content. Cargo declarations are often incomplete or unreliable. Finally, they make 4 recommendations. The first one is stringent monitoring using AIS tracking and satellites. Develop clear-up methods for different cargo types. Reform international shipping regulations. And invest more in research that involve scientists, governments, and industry working together. So, captains, your case is not unique because this is a global pattern. The risks are bigger than people realize.
Yes, exactly. I fully agree with this article. Image what environment groups have been warning about for years. Okay, so let's take heavy metal first. So when containers with things like mercury or cadmium sink, they don't just disappear. They will leak slowly into the seawater. So these metals are extremely toxic and they will build up in fish and shellfish. So for research shows that the people in coastal communities are still eating seafoods with dangerous level of mercury. So that means that even one lost container and also can cause the poison ecosystems for decades. So and then this also have the microplastics. So do you know that just one container of plastic pellets can contaminate hundreds of kilometers of beach? So the studies found that 77% of salmon in the Pacific, Northwest, and 25% of small fish in the Salish Sea has microplastics in their bodies. So once these plastics enter the food chain, they will move from small fish to bigger fish. So and eventually to humans. So the scientists have linked microplastics to reduce the growth, reproduction problems, and even hormonal disruptions in marine life. And yes, humans are eating these contaminated seafood too. And of course, oil is also a big issue. Research shows that without the strong government leaderships, clean-up companies sometimes will delay or act slowly. They will wait until they are forced or they look for extra money. So meanwhile, for the oil spills and the damaging fishes or the mangroves and also the beach. So when we talk about the accidents like the captains, we are not just talking about one spill. We are talking about a chain reactions of products, heavy metals, plastic, oil, all mixed together. And in the end, it will affect not only just marine animals, but also us.
I respect the study, but I have to disagree with some.
First, the people say regulations are improving quickly. That's not true. The International Maritime Organization announced that mandatory reporting of lost container will only begin in 2026. That is still 2 years away, meaning of now, we still have weak oversight. And even when reporting starts, there is no clear link between pollution and legal liability. In many countries, losing plastic cargo is not even considered a crime. Second, the article does not talk enough about ordinary goods. People think toys, clothing, or furniture are safe, but when they fall into the ocean, they can be just as destructive. Between 2022 and 2024, over 1,400 containers were lost at sea. One famous case was when plastic pellets spilled on the Dutch coast in 2025. They covered beaches, killed fish, and caused massive protests. Yet, Dutch goods were not even classified as hazardous, but they are legal loopholes. The airspace post-accident in Sri Lanka did result in a 1 billion compensation order, but many ships today are registered under fake covenants. That means they are tied to countries with weak looks. Among 16% of polluting ships using this system. So even if a court order compensation, it is very hard to enforce across borders.
So yes, the article raised important points, but it plans the issue too speedily. The directive is massive, law are weak. Code within a handlers can be dangerous, and enforcement is very difficult.
So all of us are share of our views. So some part of the article we agree with it, but some part we don't agree with it. But now, what can we actually do? I don't want to see another accident like my one to causing more damage. Let's recommend some real solutions.
Yeah, this is good ideas. First, monitoring. We need a better ways to track a container at sea. Right now, many containers just disappears. I suggest GPS trackers or smart sensors inside the high-risk containers, those especially with chemicals. That way, if something falls overboard, we know exactly where it is.
Yes, and not just GPS. We could also use satellites and drones to monitor the coastlines for spills. Imagine if a drone could fly out right after a storm and check for floating plastics or chemicals. Quick detections means faster cleanup.
Both good points, but who will pay off all this technology? Many shipping companies will say it's too expensive. So I recommend share funding. Government, international organizations, and shipping companies should all contribute. If we spread the cost, it becomes realities.
Fair point. Money is always an issue, but what about training? During my accident, the crew didn't know how to respond to chemical leaks. Oil, yes, but chemical, no. I think every port should run training program for sailors and emergency teams.
Exactly. And training should be cargo specific. For example, plastic need nets and skimmers, but chemicals need neutralizers and protective gears. While response plans cannot fit all the situations, each port should have a libraries of response methods and workers need to train to use them.
Okay, so I already add the community involvement. So local fishermen, coastal villages, and they are often the first to see the pollutions. So government should build the community alert systems, maybe through phone apps, or so locals can report spreads immediately. This way, the response does not only depend on big agencies.
I like that idea, but we also need stronger laws. Right now, many companies just hide accident. Reporting must be mandatory and actionable if ignored. And I think cargo declaration should be transparent. If a container has dangerous chemical, the port authority must know exactly what is inside.
Totally agree. When I sail, many containers were labeled as general goods, but inside was dangerous items. If we don't even know what is inside, how we can respond?
Okay, I have another recommendations. Innovations in materials. We could encourage the company to use degradable packagings of safer containers meanings. If a container falls, at least the damage is less serious. For plastic, use bioplastic could reduce the microplastics pollutions.
Yes, and let's not forget recycling responsibility. So the shipping companies should contribute to oceans cleanup funds. So for every container ship, maybe a small fee goes into a fund used only for marine protections. That will ensure the money is ready when accidents happen.
That could work, but it must be international. If only one country does it, ship will register elsewhere. So we need cooperation, IMO, EU, Asian, everyone agreeing to a global funds and strict notice.
And last thing, I think we need a better data sharing. Every accident should be recorded in an international database. That way, scientists, regulators, and companies can all learn from past mistakes and error. Right now, information is too scattered.
Yes, that is a good closing point. Knowledge is power. If we share data, we can design better response, improve the regulations, and also stop the repeating the same mistake.
And with technology, community actions, stricter laws, and corporations, I believe we can protect both the oceans and future generations.
Yes, we might argue, but at the end, our goals are same: safe shipping and clear sea.
This article shows us that the container ships accidents are not only oil products that bring plastic, heavy metals, chemicals into the sea.
These pollutions have threatened the fish, seabirds, and also humans. So we must act before it's too late.
But law and regulation are still weak. Without closing the gap, even the best science would not help.
That's why the cooperation is the key. The scientific, government, companies, and the public must work together in order to protect our oceans. So we must protect our ocean, protect our future.
As we have seen, container ship accidents are no longer just about oil spill. They release a wide range of pollutants: microplastic that persists for decades, heavy metal that poison the food chain, chemical that disrupt ecosystem, and consumer goods that slowly degrade into harmful waste. These pollutants do not act the same way, and their combined impact create one of the most complex challenges for maritime protection today. The discussion has shown that while there is strong evidence supporting the dangers of heavy metal, microplastic, and oil, there are also critical gaps in international regulation and legal enforcement. Progress is too slow, and accountability is often avoided through loopholes. This means that the risk of container ship accident remain underestimated. Looking forward, what is needed is real-time monitoring with technology, standard emergency response across ports, stronger global regulation for container handling, and innovation in safer packaging material. Only with this combined effort can we reduce the risk of future accidents. In conclusion, protecting the ocean is about more than saving marine life. It is about protecting human health, supporting coastal economics, and ensuring the safe and sustainable future. Thank you.